What's up, you guys? I'm Dan. This is Frugal Not Cheap. Today we'll talk about 529 plans. These used to be called college savings plans, but I don't think that's the right name for them anymore. So, why should we care about these 529 plans? Well, I think the obvious one is that college is very expensive, and those costs have been increasing over time. And second, and this goes along with a lot of the stuff that we talk about on this channel in terms of investing, is that investing and time and compound interest can help making saving for college much more attainable, especially if we start real early. And finally, kind of why this is sort of more of a timely topic is that there have been some changes in recent years and recent times that have made 529 plans even more attractive, really broadening the scope of what you can use them for to the point where I don't even think we should call them college savings plans anymore. So first, let's look at kind of what the cost of college is these days. And there is a significant difference in a person's earning power based on whether or not they have a college degree. And I know there's all kinds of exceptions to the rule, and not all college degrees are the same, and there may be some diminished returns to that, as the graduation rate amongst the population may have changed. But in any case, still pretty clear that statistically that it still makes a big difference in terms of one's lifetime earning potential. Anyway, so here we can see some data on the costs of tuition and fees. The four-year schools are, of course, the more expensive ones and sort of the dashed navy line. And we can see that they skyrocketed from about $5,000 back in the early 60s to over $18,000 in recent years before coming off a little bit to $17,251 by 2021. This is on an annual basis, so we're talking about $69,000 for tuition alone. On top of that, of course, we're going to need things like books and meals, transportation, and housing. Some students may continue to live with their parents and commute, but the majority are going to prefer to live in a dormitory or an apartment off campus or something like that. In any case, when we look at the total cost of college, this increases it by about $10,000 as of 2021 to around $27,000. Again, that's per year, so we have a total cost for the four-year degree of $108,000. So how exactly are we supposed to save up for that? Well, this is where investing and compound interest come in, as this can help us to make this a much more achievable goal as long as we start early. So let's assume a relatively moderate real rate of return, that means after inflation, 6.1%. We can probably get something more like 7%, but we'll be a little bit moderate here because our time horizon is a little bit shorter at 18 years. In order to cover the total of just under $108,000 of the four-year total cost, we would need to save the relatively small amount of $223 a month per child. If you do the math, this means we end up only contributing $48,168. That's only 44.6% of the total cost. Another way to put it is that's like getting a 55% discount because we planned ahead and started investing. Now on top of that, because this is within a 529 plan and the withdrawals are tax sheltered, we can compare to the next best thing, which would have been to invest in a brokerage account and ending up having to pay the 15% capital gains tax rate. The gains were $59,500, and at that 15% rate, that would be nearly $9,000 in tax savings. So we're saving nearly $60,000 just in terms of the money we need to come up with that we don't have to because of the compound growth, and then another $9,000 in taxes. And on top of that, we may also have some state tax deductions that we can take depending on where we are and where our plan is located. And to add a little bit of icing on the cake, the 529 plan counts as parental assets on the FAFSA application, which has a much smaller impact on need-based aid than does parental or student income. So there's significant savings that can be had, and these plans can really help to make saving for college more affordable. But some changes that have been happening to the tax code that have really significantly improved how useful these 529 plans are for us since 2017. For instance, 529 plans are no longer just for college. They can be used for K through 12 expenses. They can also be used to pay for expenses for vocational school or to pay off some student debt. And coming in the next few years, supposedly there's going to be some benefits for grandparent-owned 529 plans. But I think the craziest one happened more recently, and that's up to $35,000 can be rolled into a Roth individual retirement account, or IRA, a Roth IRA, starting in January of this year, 2024. So that's pretty amazing, even if it just ended up somehow that your child or whomever, because it doesn't have to be your child that you're doing the 529 plan for, whoever the beneficiary is, they might not end up wanting to go to school. Now, of course, you can change the beneficiary and use it for someone else's expenses. But the cool thing is that, let's say you still wanted them to benefit, but they didn't, there was no opportunity to use it for any of these educational expenses. You could still roll it into the Roth and really help set them up towards retirement from a young age, and that's pretty awesome. Let me kind of dig into the details a little bit in some of these changes real quick before we wrap up. So the 2017 Tax Cut and Jobs Act is the one that expanded the use to, K through 12 education. The tax-free withdrawals, though, for K through 12 are limited to $10,000 per year. Anything above that would be taxable. In 2019, the Secure Act, setting every community up for retirement enhancement. Who comes up with these names? Anyway, that bill allowed some of the proceeds from the 529 plan to be used to pay off the student loan of the beneficiary or a sibling of the beneficiary. But here there is a lifetime limit of $10,000. Still, that's a big change, as student debt was not an expense that was allowable before. Also in 2019 was the expansion to allow for fees and materials and other expenses for apprenticeships to be allowable tax-free. And then most recently was the Secure Act 2.0, which went into effect this year, and that's the one that allows the lifetime maximum of $35,000 to be transferred into a Roth IRA in the name of the beneficiary of the 529 account. The caveats are, because they don't want you to just be doing this willy-nilly, is that the account must have existed for at least 15 years, and the money must be transferred according to annual Roth IRA contribution limits. So currently that limit is $7,000 a year, which means it would take 5 years at that limit in order to get this done, because you can't do it all in a lump sum. But it's pretty great because it's still a way to fund an IRA for your child, even if they're not working. One last note is that while there's no limit to how much you can put in a 529 plan each year, any contributions over $17,000, from one person to another, can of course trigger the federal gift tax. Married filing jointly, of course, you get double that. But there you have it. Hopefully you can see how these are much more than just college savings plans now. They're pretty great vehicles in order to get some tax-free growth that will be able to help a beneficiary either get set up in paying for education and various things, or also just set up for retirement from an early age, and I think that's pretty awesome. Hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please hit the like button and consider subscribing. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.